What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Trash Picking Trading Cards. And today, for Trash Pick Thursdays, we're going to be looking at GameStop and how much they are paying for graded slabs versus what are the recent sales on eBay, and is it worth selling to them, or should you buy yourself on eBay? Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Thank you so much for checking out this video. I hope you like this content. If you want to see more stuff like this, let us know in the comments below. Let's get into this. All right, everybody. So if you are not familiar with GameStop and how to sell cards or what that even looks like, I'm going to start from the top. So go to Google. You're going to go to, I can't type. It's going to take me to the login. And we're in. Okay, we're just going to go to GameStop. I didn't know it was going to do all this. Okay, so, buy and sell your graded cards at GameStop. Going to click on this. And you're going to click on Get an Estimate. Okay, so what does this do? You're going to come to this page right here, and it has this little insert for your PSA certificate. So, like I said, I have 3 cards that I picked out that we're going to use as examples to see what their prices that they're buying versus what the prices that they're selling for. So the first one is going to be the Jewelry Bonnie SP. As you see right here, it's in a PSA 10. And we're going to type in the cert. So you're going to type it in, doing this real time. I'm not typing anything in because I didn't click on the box. That's okay. Don't be like me. We are trash here. Okay, there we go. There we go. Invalid because I put too many 2s. I promise you that I'm a professional. All right, so pulls it up, and so they're willing to pay $119.51 cash if you're a pro member, $113.82 cash if you're not, and then you have $132.79 for store credit. And then you can click on this and it'll bring up the card details. And then if you decide that you want to sell to them, you can click on Find a Store and it'll take you to the closest store. Now, for recent sales, I use eBay. Why? Because I sell on eBay. So if we looked up the Jewelry Bonnie, I'm not typing anything. That's okay. And then we're going to click on Sold and Completed Listings. So on May 8th, it sold for $259.99. And that is the most recent sale from what it looks like. With that being said, there's a big price difference. So $159 versus $119, it's a $140 difference that potentially you could sell it for. Now, if you're in a pinch and you're like, man, I really need $100, GameStop's going to be where it's at. But at the same time, price difference wise, this is a bit larger than somebody might feel comfortable with because you're missing out on a large sum of potential profit. Now, given that GameStop is a business entity and you're like, why are they charging so less versus the value of the card? Well, they don't really tell us where they're pulling their market value from. And if you're familiar with GameStop and their graded cards, a lot of people go on GameStop to hawk off graded cards from them because they're always under market value and they don't really stay close to the trends. That is what market is for cards. So the next card we're going to use is this Pikachu SIR from 151. Not SIR, but IR. So we're going to look that up. Okay, so here it is. So this will give you $123.23 cash, $136.92 store credit. And then we have the, I can't spell, good Lord. So that's Japanese. So English, most recent sale, May 14th, $162. So actually, this one wouldn't be bad for, one sold on May 13th for 119. So 123.23 is actually like a pretty damn good price for this card, as recent sales just aren't where they need to be for that. And so that's a good example of a card that their market hasn't adjusted yet. They're going to overpay for a card. You walk away with a lot more cash in your pocket versus what recent sales are, and you don't have to deal with any of the store credit or any of the fees or anything like that. So let's see if there's any more recent sales. Japanese, English, 169, 157. Yeah, that 123 isn't bad when it comes to price point. 160. Because, keep in mind that eBay takes out their fees and everything like that. So eBay takes out 15%. We're just going to do this right here, actually. So let's say 160 is what we sell it for minus 12% equals 140.80. And then you got to pay for shipping. Shipping for that, it's going to cost about $8. So, I mean, it's $9 difference, really. In theory, if it sold for $160, you'd make an extra $9 versus the cash 123.23. You don't have to worry about anything. So there's that. Not a bad difference there. So that'd be definitely worth selling to them for a quick buck versus going through all the rigmarole on eBay. 786.725. All right, so the third card we're going to be looking up is going to be the Charizard EX from Flashfire. And kind of see what they're buying that at versus what recent sales are, and to kind of see like what that price point looks like. Okay, so this one is $65.97 cash, $73.30 store credit. I'm not even going to type it. We're going to copy and paste it. We're going to see if this one is close or similar to the Pikachu. Wow, I was not expecting that. Why did this sell for $175? This one sold for $75. This one sold for $100. This one sold for $86. Well, it's a good thing you check prices. I mean, they're paying market for the card. Minus is 175. So, I mean, this is definitely a card that we should keep an eye on to see what prices do. It is the base EX, but I have no idea why it went up that high for that. That is the most recent sale on eBay. So they might be on the rise. I don't know. Now, don't forget that GameStop does not buy like every card. And what I mean by that is they will only take certain cards at certain grades, or other cards may not be worth the value of selling to them. So I'll give you two examples of that. The first one's going to be a card that isn't to their minimum requirement. The minimum required is a PSA 8 or higher. But what happens if I research a card that isn't a PSA 8? Well, this is what's going to happen. Sorry, we only purchase cards graded at 7 or higher. All this is saying is that 7 is their cutoff, so they take and buy cards at a PSA 8 or higher. So anything less than that, they don't buy. And then for cards, for other cards that doesn't really have a strong market, that they know that they're going to sit on, they undershoot really, really hard. And so this is the Paramount Award. Now, mind you, like this slab in of itself sells on eBay for like $25 to $30, but they're only paying $2.84 cash, $2.84 cash. So definitely not worth it there. But it is something to like consider and know when I'm selling cards that certain things are going to be worth it and certain things aren't. And this is definitely something to just keep in your personal collection because after the hassle of everything, it's not worth really selling. So that is just the highlight of that. Now, keep in mind that if there's certain cards on the downtrend, right? So one of the big cards, EX151. So this card's massively on the downtrend right now. So like 715, right? We looked ours up. We're just gonna use theirs, 113, because I don't feel like standing up. 448. 499. Just to see like what they're paying versus what prices. Because I mean, this card is on the massive downtrend, so if they're gonna pay like a good value point for it, so yeah, like they're paying 550 cash, 611 store credit, and recent sale on the 14th was 715. So I mean, if you need the money in a pinch, like it's an easy $500. Like if this dips any lower, you could essentially get $611 store credit to potentially buy other cards and increase your collection that way if you really want to, or that 550 cash, which is a $150 difference, right? But again, understanding on a $700 card. So if I sell for 700 minus 12% is 616, and then shipping on that's going to be like 15 bucks, 601. After everything, I'm losing out on 50 bucks. $50 is $50, but again, in a pinch, it's a good amount to get. So just like highlighting like some of the bigger cards, especially that are on the downtrend, this might be like the go-to thing where you can just dump off cards that in the summertime dip, get really close to good value, not worry about anything with eBay or anything like that, and then you can buy back the cards when they're even lower and put them back in your collection, and you can essentially like make a profit that way. So that's just highlighting some of the cards that you potentially could sell to GameStop. And like I said, this is just out of our personal collection. And like sometimes when you get a card from PSA, super undervalued, and then it shoots up in value, and then you're just sitting on a gold mine. I'll give you a good example of that. So this we got off of GameStop, and we paid less than what they're paying in cash. And now because the card has like gone up in value, right? We could sell it back to them and make back the money that we paid. But again, we collect Lucas, so we're not going to sell a card. But just like as an example of cards that they sell at mismarked values, it's a good way to increase your personal collection. So if you're not familiar with GameStop and the fact that they sell graded cards, you can click graded cards, and you can choose. You want Pokemon, Dragon Ball, Wakana. They have a bunch of enchanteds and stuff like that you can look at. So they have an Elsa and a PSA. I think this is an 8. Yep, for 766. Pros get a discounted price. People do sell them regular foils, some other enchanteds and stuff like that. So just expanding the horizons as to your collecting potential is very, very important. And this is what they do. Pokemon. Now, Pokemon, like a lot of people pay attention to the things that happen on GameStop. So, if you're looking at getting things for your personal collection, like you could trade in that Charizard for $600 and you could get other slabs and expand your personal collection if you really wanted to. And that's something that people do with GameStop is they'll get a really expensive slab, not be able to move it. They'll sell it on GameStop, store credit it, and then they'll get multiple other slabs. Then you see like they have the Espeon EX for PSA 9. Now, mind you, that a lot of these prismatic evolutions are still falling super heavily. So, I'm not saying go out and buy that, but as an example of cards like that, you have the Surging Sparks Pikachu in a PSA 9, the Pekkaron EX from that. We have the Execute. So some cards that are there. And I mean, there's 2,052 items in the Pokemon category for graded cards. So take your pick as to which one you want. But, you can do your research as to whether or not they're accurate on pricing. You have the Fazandipede And then they also have Japanese stuff, which is a good place to get it because they don't update their Japanese markets very well. And then you have the Temporal Forces SIR right here at a PSA 10, which seems very, very undervalued in my opinion. I thought it was like a $400 card, but I guess the prices have dropped on Temporal Forces. You have the Zapdos and a PSA 10 that's market value. The Mew and a PSA 8 for 16 bucks, which is a beautiful card, don't get me wrong. But just certain things like this that you can get at a really good price for not a lot of money, just to add to your personal collection, unless you're like a hard PSA 10 kind of person, and then do it that way. Hey everybody, thank you so much for checking out that video as to our GameStop comparison for recent sales. It did shed some light on our own personal collection, and considering some things that we're trying to get rid of, we might actually take advantage of it, but that's neither here nor there. Again, hope everybody has a wonderful day. Thank you for checking out our Trash Pick Thursdays GameStop comparison on prices, and I hope everybody has a fantastic, trash-tastic day. Deuces, y'all.